Ask Reddit. Doctors, have you ever witnessed the meltdown of a birth that was clearly a result of a cheating spouse? What was the aftermath? My friend was a delivery nurse for the hospital that all high-risk pregnancies go to. They are extremely busy, and she has brought a lot of people into the world. She once delivered a baby in the parking lot by herself. This has come up on a weekly basis, but she shared the best story with us. A Caucasian couple come in, and the mother is in labor. When the dude is filling out paperwork, the mother takes the doctor aside. She tells him there is a chance that the baby may a different race than the father, and to let her know as soon as the baby is born. The baby is born. The doctor turns to the mother and announces loudly, "Congratulations on your white baby boy." I hope I'm not too late. My mom is a labor and delivery nurse. One time she had a patient whose parents were present during her stay at the hospital. The staff there have a whiteboard with some general information about the patient's like blood type, time spent in the wing, and like how far along. This information is nameless for HIPAA reasons and instead has a patient's number. So this patient happened to be the only one in the wing at the time. Her father was walking back from the cafeteria at one point and noticed the board. He stopped one of the nurses and asked if the blood type for the patient on the board was correct. He knew his daughter was the only patient there. It was B+. The nurse confirmed it was correct. Turns out he knew his and his wife's blood type. He was O+ and his wife was A. This combination will never yield a B+ baby. He brings his wife out and just points at the board, and this look of shock washes over her. Not a doctor, but my best friend's stepbrother was that guy who found out he wasn't the father because the baby was black. I'll try to make it short. Dude had gone to rehab twice and was doing really well. He came back home for a weekend and ducked his ex-GF, left and went back to his house, states away to continue his newfound life. Got the call she was pregnant and dropped everything to come back and be a father. We were really worried he would relapse, but he was great. So 9 months of preparation goes by. He was gonna be an awesome dad. All worried about relapsing were gone, and he seemed ready to become the best dad he could ever be. Baby comes out. Everybody's happy. Nurse takes him aside after a few minutes and says, "I want to ask you something. You do know that's not your kid, right?" He says, "What do you mean?" "Well, that baby is at least half black, but the pigments are probably going to really darken." So he goes over to his ex-GF and asks if there's any ways what the nurse just told him is true. She starts sobbing and breaks down completely, admits that she ducked a black guy right around time he came back. So he says, "Alright, I'm glad you and the baby are healthy. Have a nice life." Walks into the waiting room where all the new grandparents are waiting. Cheers. Celebration. Everything good. Yep. Healthy baby. Healthy mom. I'm not the father. I'm out to here. And walked right out the ducking door. The girl's parents even wanted him to pay and support. He moved back to where he got his life back together and is doing incredibly well. But man, I wish he had all that time back. My friend told me this story of hers. Woman and her husband were having their first child, and it was the friend's first ever delivery, ob/gyn. When she got the baby out, she looked at it, then looked at the parents and asked, "Okay, which of you has 6 fingers?" The mother broke down crying, yelling "I'm sorry" to the husband. Their neighbor apparently had 6 fingers. A patient asked if both possible fathers could be in her C-section so that neither would miss the birth of his child. They'd figure out the details later. My parents' cat had 5 kittens. 2 all black, 3 all orange. There is a black male stray and an orange male stray in the neighborhood. She looked a little ashamed, maybe. Just one of cat's magical superpowers. Lady cats can get pregnant off of 2 different fathers. Unlike humans, they can have separate but pretty close to timely separate inseminations, resulting in kits that resemble each of the respective fathers. Same with dogs, or so I'm told. It very rarely happens with humans too. It wasn't at the birth, but I used to work for a urologist who did vasectomies. He did a vas on a guy, then did the requisite 3-month and 6-month semen analysis follow-up tests to make sure it worked. The 6-month test showed no sperm, so the guy was all set to not father children. Fast forward 2 years, and he calls my surgeon fuming, ranting, and raving about how he ducked up the vasectomy and now his wife is pregnant. So doc orders another semen analysis. Of course, it comes back totally negative. A very awkward conversation ensued in the exam room that I'd have paid anything to eavesdrop on. The best part is, the couple left the office pissed off, with the wife sticking to her story that she would never cheat on her husband, and the husband in complete denial that she'd ever lie about that. Last I heard they were gearing up to sue or something, but I don't work there anymore, so I don't know what happened. I'm not a doctor, but when my godson was born, the nurse told us about this guy who had gotten 2 girls pregnant at the same time. They both wound up at that hospital just down the hall from each other, giving birth hours apart. What a lucky guy. These stories remind me of something I experienced firsthand the day after my son was born. Nurse, so your baby's blood type is a wife, like me. Nurse, and Addy. Me. No, I'm A+ nurse. You must be mistaken. That combination isn't possible. Open bracket close bracket. Nurse, I'll leave you guys to it. Me. Pulls out phone and frantically googles baby blood type combinations. The nurse was wrong. Props for checking first, before attacking your wife. This happened in my immediate family. My mother is white mix American, brown hair and green eyes, married a full-blooded Japanese man. My 2 younger brothers and I are very obviously half Jap. I got the black hair, brown eyes, and a slight cast to my eyes. My brothers look Jap as F in the face, with brown hair, moms, and lighter eyes. After the 3rd kid, things weren't going so hot with my mother and father. Lot of fights, lots of nights, where I would wake up, at the age of 5, and find my dad slept on the couch. Mom gets pregs again, even though they only had sex once after my youngest brother was born. Their relationship continues to deteriorate during the pregnancy. The big day comes, out comes my baby sister, last of the bunch. My sister was born white, with a shock of bright red hair and a very pale complexion, and no Jap features at all. My father's best friend was a tall Danish red-headed dude. It took my father about 36 hours to put 2 + 2 together. He confronted my mother in the hospital, and she admitted she'd been ducking his best friend behind his back since before my youngest brother was born. Divorce happened not long after that. My father ran the F away from all of that bullsh. Funny thing, I didn't realize my sister was from another father until I was 16 years old, and my girlfriend asked why my sister looked nothing like me and my brothers. I asked my mother and got the full story. To this day, she's not my half sister, she's my sister. We grew up together, and she my sis. I'm her eldest bro. But yeah, it ended the marriage, more or less on the spot. I might be the first medical professional to post in this thread, hot damn. So I'm a NICU nurse that was floating to the nursery. A baby was born with a genetic abnormality, had 1 missing limb, but was otherwise doing fine. The pediatrician was in the parents' room discussing with them the follow-up type stuff for the baby, appointments with a geneticist, an orthopedic surgeon, etc. At some point in the conversation the mother asked what the baby's blood type was, to which the pediatrician responded a plus. The father of the baby insisted that was impossible, as he and his wife, this was their 3rd baby, were both O. The pediatrician got totally flustered and came back to the nursery to verify the lab results. Baby really was A+. We even went so far as to redraw the baby's blood and retest it. Nope, A+. There is absolutely no chance that the baby belonged to that man. The husband left the hospital soon after and didn't show up again until it was time to pick up the mom and baby to bring them home. The mom spent the rest of the hospital stay lying alone, in the dark, mostly hiding under the covers. Not a doctor, but still a relevant story. When I was born, my father was 100% certain that I was not his, because his blood type and my mom's blood type couldn't have produced me. He punched a hole in the wall in the hospital and yelled at my mom refusing to sign the birth certificate because I have A+ blood, my mom has 0 neg, and he was positive that he had ab neg because that's what his brand new dog tag said. He was in the army at the time. Turns out, they misprinted his dog tags. All his old tags said A positive. Not me, but this was an odd one that I heard because I casually knew one of the parents, the father to be exact. He came in freaking out because his wife had a kid. Well, he was white. She was white. Kid was born a dark mulatto. He instantly dumps her and starts filing for divorce. She has no idea what the hell happened. She forces a DNA test on him before she'll do anything. 3 months later, well, turned out it was his kid. Her parents, his parents, everyone thinks he is an S. His mother apparently had a black grandmother, so the genes came through extra strong somehow in their kid, so many generations down the line. Safe to say they are going through a hell of a lot of therapy. She never cheated on him, and he never believed her despite all her serious protests. Been about a year now and it's better, but still not perfect. You've been visited by the rare poke pupper. You will be blessed with cool spawns and countless poke balls, but only if you comment, catch them all, pupper.